So I've had one guy that he was emigrating to Australia, and he'd only ever been to Spain before, and it'd been a few times. Each time the flight had been worse and worse and worse. It'd been a perfect flight, but for him it was really traumatic, and he hated it. And the idea of being sat on a plane for 24 hours, it stopped him emigrating up until that point. He wanted to do it years before, but it's like, nah, the only thing stopping him was the flight. And he was getting closer to the age where he wouldn't be eligible to emigrate because he was getting too old for it. And it was basically his last year. And he thought that if he booked it and made all the arrangements, the fear would fall into place and he'd be able to do it. But as it got closer and closer, he was getting more and more scared than he'd ever been in the past. But he'd made all these arrangements. He'd started to quit his job, he'd started to look for a new one. Everything was falling into place except the flight. And as a last resort, he tried all sorts of other things. He called me up and he's like, I'm emigrating in 2 weeks and I'm terrified of flying, what can you do? So I saw him for a few intensive sessions, sort of squeezed them in as best we could, and the only way of testing it was for him to get on the plane. When he thought about it, he was thinking differently. He wasn't as stressed, he wasn't feeling the same, but he didn't know for sure until he actually did it. And I didn't know for sure either, so it's a little bit nerve-wracking for me. There's that potential of it going back to how he was and having to sit there for 24 hours or miss out on his flight and thousands of pounds. But a few weeks after he emigrated, I got an email from him, lots of photos of his new Australian house. He loved the flight. It just sort of washed over him. He didn't stress at all. He got a bit bored, as anybody would on that kind of flight, but he wasn't nervous, he wasn't stressed, he wasn't having palpitations or sweating or anything like he was, and he did the flight next no problem. And getting that email through with him smiling and on the beach and all those kinds of things, that's what makes my job absolutely brilliant.